Let's go. What's up, everyone? Got a little man next to me, so I'm not going to be too loud here. I'm going to talk, but going to try not to scream at all. But there's a lot of stuff going on, guys. So, hey, thank you, appreciate it. The yen carry trade, you guys, there is potential if you listen to this video. You can make money. I'm not gonna flat out say what to do, but I mean, you can definitely make money on this from listening to what's going to happen and understand everything. Baby Biggums is right next to me in this swing right now. I'm checking him right now. He's looking good. He's in his little swing right now. You guys, there's tons of potential here to make money on from what's going to happen. There's no stopping what's going to happen. It's not like these other things. I really want you guys to listen to what's happening here in Japan. Japan has officially declared war on Wall Street banks. They've been doing it for a while. I'm starting to now fully understand and grasp everything, and I'm going to explain it all to you guys. This is going to be a huge bomb for these Wall Street banks. It's amazing what's actually happening here. And if you like Donald Trump, if Japan does what they are trying to do, if this ripple takes to where it goes, something Donald Trump really wants to do is he's talking about getting rid of like 2/3 of, government systems, like public education, just all that departments, all these departments, and this would be a way, on a default on these bonds, these notes, that he would be able to do that because half of it would shut down. It's going to get very, very interesting here. Thank you, everybody, for the congratulations. But let's go into this video here. But like I said, guys, really listen to this video because, again, you can play options. Well, I mean, there's lots of things here you can do with this information and make a very good amount of money. So before we get into that, we always got to do our AMC update. We are at 1,620,000,000. We're killing it at the box office. This is the exact number I said we would be at. I feel like still we're going to end this month. We still have 3 full weekends, the whole weeks. I mean, we're easily going to make, I believe we'll finish this at 2.16 to 2.2, actually, anywhere around there. I believe at the end of this quarter, we're going to still finish around 2.8, 2.815, around there. A lot of people, A lot of people ask me, when do I believe AMC will be profitable at the box office? I believe that would be around 2.415-ish I have around there with merchandise sales. We're also going to have the Usher concert. Even if we make around 10 million, I don't think it's not going to be anything crazy, but I still believe they can make around 10 million. So I have us about right around there. 2.41 would be profit. At the end of the quarter, I have AMC profiting around 165, 170 million. Feeling good about that. We're feeling real good about that. Now, here's the thing with AMC here. We're reducing the rent, but another thing is not just doing that, so much more content is coming out. If you guys, I just wanted to pull this up here real quick just so I could show you guys some more things that were announced. I mean, obviously next year you got the Lilo and Stitch remake. Next year is going to kill it. They also announced an Accountant 2 coming. They're talking about an Incredibles 3 now coming out, so that there's rumors now saying that might come out in 2026 also. So in 2026, you're talking nothing but $3 billion plus every single quarters. So like I said, even in 2026, you should be raking in easily 650, 700 million. Like I said, AMC right now is definitely at a bargain price. It's ridiculous that it's trading this fucking low. Pixar also in 2026 said that they're going to make another movie called Hopper. It's an original Pixar movie. We got Toy Story 2 first looks. Paramount's laying off a whole bunch of people. We still got whole bunch of stuff coming out this quarter, but yeah, here's the Accountant 2. So they're going to keep coming out with more content releases in 2025 because all of these production companies, these studios, they're losing tons and tons of money. And as you guys can see here, Paramount announced more layoffs. they're losing money. That strike hurt them way more than they thought. I think it was Paramount. I can't remember who it was, but they just announced that they're worth $10 billion less than what they thought on their first original value. So again, these production companies are taking massive hits. So you're going to see nothing but more and more content coming out. So great news for AMC. Look, like I said, it's just nothing but up and up and up and up from here. But a lot of people are asking me what I think we're gonna make. A lot of people think we're. I mean, I was seeing people talking we're gonna be making like 400 million this quarter. It's like no. I think around 160, and that's a good ass number, man. So, thank you guys, appreciate it. You got to remember in the last quarter we had a write-off and it was like 82 million. So I mean, you got to remember we would have had about 111 million loss last quarter. So it's around 2.4. 2.4 ish. 2.41 is what I had around. But before we get into this the Japan war on these banks, because this Japan war on these banks, you guys, I want you to. It's so beautiful. How bad this is going to fuck these bankers up in Wall Street. I want you guys to understand what Wall Street's been doing to them. And we're going to get into Obama, and we're going to get into a lot of stuff here on that, because this trade, everybody saw what happened when a small amount, I want you guys to understand, a small amount was unwound. If you watch the charts and if you looked at the numbers, did the data, there was not even close. Even if it was at a 1.2 trillion, let's just say we lowball it. We'll get into that. Actually, I'm not going to keep skipping ahead because I do love this. Well, we got to get into this first. Dougie Fresh. So a long time ago, Dougie's sitting there trying to, he's issuing cease and desist to everybody, and everybody wonders why Dougie Fresh has never given me one. It's because everything I've ever said Dougie Fresh was doing illegally, guess what? Like a month later, he went to court for it. And this is one of the things here. I told you everyone, Dougie Fresh was front running. That's what all these fucking things. That's what these market makers do. Well, this fucking douchebag had that backup server where everybody could fucking access it, and everybody was front running it. And then the dude went for a motion to deny it, and the judge was like, no, you definitely did this shit. So Dougie Fresh motion to deny on this case got fucking denied, rejected. Dougie, you're going to court, bitch. Stop front running. Stop fucking front running, loser. So Dougie is definitely going to court. Good. You're a fucking piece of shit, and I can't wait till you get fucked up by the ironworkers lawsuit as well. You're a loser, Dougie Fresh. And I will make sure that you know the second you lose, I will be there, my friend. Here you go. Denied, dude. He tried to get it the motion to dismiss, denied. Thank you, Boss Blunts, for showing that. I always love seeing Dougie Fresh news. But all right, let's get into the real thing here. Everyone pay attention to this. You can make money in a lot of areas. There's a lot of things that are going to collapse from this. There's nothing that these guys can do. There's nothing I'm going to show you what the United States is trying to do to stop this. Now, I want everybody to remember before I get into this, the United States announced that they're doing $30 billion per month Treasury buybacks. A lot of people ask me, what do I think they're going to do? Or, how are they going to, what is the United States trying to do to stop this? Well, this is it. They're trying to do Treasury buybacks, but it's not, that doesn't help. That makes it even fucking worse. Ask Japan. So we're going to get into all this here in a second, but let's talk about what's going on with this yen carry trade. Let's talk about these Wall Street banks. Let's talk about how much this has helped Wall Street, how Wall Street has been taking advantage of Japan, how Obama went in here and basically they made a giant mess, and Japan has been backed into a corner for a long time. Japan now feels the only way to get out of this is to pretty much devalue the hell out of their currency to the point. Well, here, let me explain something real quick, because you have to understand this to get what's going on. But this is insanely important, so I'm just going to break this down. You will be very smart by the end of this. Hold on, let me pull up this new thing. Okay, so pull up this little sketch pad. So you have the yen right now. Okay, it's a forex currency. It's just basically garbage right now at this point. You know, it's not really backed by anything. The thing that really gives the yen value, the way that it gets its value from, is its reserve in the US dollar. Okay, so the United States, obviously, we're backed by our military. Basically, I would say the United States dollar is mainly backed by our military. You know, it's not, obviously, we're not backed by gold. We're not backed, you know, we're backed by our government, but really you're backed by the military, okay? So the yen, they don't really have anything to back them. They don't really have anything to store its value. So what they do is their country goes out and they have stored value in USD, US currency, okay? Because it's the most traded, you know, currency around the world, okay? So that's what holds its value in for the yen. Well, what ended up happening is when the yen... Hold on, give me 2 seconds. You're okay, bud. Sorry, turned. I don't like it when he turns his head into his blanket like that. All right, so what ended up happening is about a couple months ago, Japan ended up selling $180 billion of its treasury bonds, okay? So when that happened, instead of them going out and using it back into dollar assets, they went out and they bought gold, okay? So what ended up happening is you have the yen here. They sell 180 billion. And this is why the yen carry trade, one of the reasons this all came into a ripple effect. So they sell 100 billion of treasuries, okay? And then instead of investing it back into dollars to put back into their reserve, they went and they got gold, okay? Now, if you're listening, I'm going to circle gold 1,000 times. I have told everybody for 3 years now, gold, get into fucking gold. And guess what? It's gone up almost $700 since I've told you guys originally to get into gold. I'm going to circle this right now because this is huge and key right now. Not financial advice, but you're going to see more and more buying right here. And I'm going to show you what's happening. So Japan is buying gold, and what ended up happening is this went down, so the yen lost value, okay? So the yen's value went down. So that ends up meaning these Wall Street bankers, so what they do with this yen carry trade, okay? So let's get into Wall Street for a second here. You have the yen carry trade, you have a Wall Street bank comes in, they go over and they borrow the yen, because right now you can borrow the yen and you want to get it to as close to 0% as you can. Okay. So they're borrowing yen, and then what they're doing is they're converting that over to USD, and they're buying bonds with it. So they're buying bonds with it. They're buying, you know, they could go buy Japan assets, Japan banks, you know, stocks. They can get stocks, bonds, treasury bonds, okay? But they want to get it in US dollars. So now what they're getting over here is 6%, okay? So they're literally gaining 6% to do nothing. They're literally going over to Japan. They're getting they're going over there. They're getting a whole bunch of yen at 0%. So they're borrowing a ton of yen from these banks at 0%. They're buying a ton of these assets over here in the United States. They're making the interest on it. Now, there are reports that the yen trade is anywhere between 1.2 trillion to 20 trillion. There's other reports of it being 3.4 trillion. It's a massive, massive, massive gap. Now, the people that reported 20 trillion was Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank went in and did a report, and it ended up totaling 20 trillion. Now, I want you to listen to this. For every 1.2 trillion, no, every $1 trillion, they were making $60 billion a year. Now, this is a crime, and I want you to listen to this because this is a crime, number one. They are making $60 billion a year. Now, in order to invest in this trade, you needed to be a bank or a central bank. You needed to have access to be able to get into this, okay? So you would use bank assets. Now, here's where it becomes a crime. What these guys were doing is they were taking this money that they were making from this yen carry trade, this 6%, and it was not showing up on their balance sheet. So for every $1 trillion, $60 billion they made a year, okay? So the $60 billion was coming over to them, but they weren't reporting it on the balance sheet. What they were doing was funneling this money laundering to the Cayman Islands. Okay, so Wall Street has been taking the yen carry trade, abusing Japan, funneling all of that money to the Cayman Islands, not reporting it to the bank by using the banker's assets as well. Now, they should have been reporting it on the balance sheet. It should have went to stockholders and dividends, and it should have went to people that are invested in their stock, but instead they stole it from them and they funneled it offshore. So none of this has been showing up. All this free money has not been showing up. Now, I want you to understand how much this could possibly be, okay? If it's correct that these other banks are reporting, because there was 2 banks that have reported 20 trillion. For every trillion, they make 60 billion a year. If it's up to 20 trillion, that equals $1.2 trillion a year. Wall Street makes from doing the yen carry trade and just abusing Japan. It never shows up on the bank's balance sheet, and it gets funneled offshore into these accounts, into the Cayman Islands, into all of these other places that they're paying off, bribing them with billions and billions and billions of dollars. So Japan, well, before we get into that, so Wall Street now, so Japan went out and they sold that, okay, and they devalued their currency. Well, what ended up happening is they destroyed the rate. So it's pretty much a catch-22, okay? So when they sold all those bonds off, it costed them less to borrow the yen. Now, to use this as an example, because this makes perfect sense, and I'm using this math because if you look at the sell-off number, do you guys remember the total that I posted the day the yen carry trade collapsed? I go, you guys, there is 3.8 trillion that was sold off for margin calls. Okay, so remember that number. You had 3.8 trillion sold off through crypto, stocks, that bloodbath. 3.8 trillion was the peak at one point. Now, if you take 20 trillion, and we're going to just do the math, do the 6%. That is 5 trillion, okay? So, when this occurred, they got a $5 trillion discount on this side of the trade, okay? So, they got a $5 trillion discount on borrowing the yen. Holy shit, that's a fuck ton. They're jacked, but you got to remember, there is 2 sides to every trade. So, why it went up, why it was 5 trillion less over here, the devalue of the bond rates and everything ended up equaling 40% drop. Okay? So why they made 25% over here, they took a 40% loss over here. That ends up equaling a total net of negative 3 trillion in margin calls. Kind of crazy. You had around, you had over 3 trillion, but you had the 3 trillion in total assets sold off. So that makes me feel more that there is the 20 trillion number more towards in these. Now, the problem with this is when you're sitting there, and let me ask you guys a question. Where'd you get the 5 trillion from? 6% of the 20 trillion. Because you're doing the 6% rate. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. The yen dropped. I'm sorry. The yen dropped. We're getting it from the 25%. Okay. Sorry. This 25%. The yen dropped. I'm sorry. I did that wrong. The yen dropped 25% value. Okay. So the yen dropped 25% value from this. Because when they sold off their assets, the yen dropped 25%. They ended up printing. And then it dropped 21%. Then they ended up printing. They bought those bonds back, and then it ended up equaling a 25% drop. Okay, so you had 25% of 20 trillion is your 5 trillion discount. I'm sorry, I didn't explain that well enough. So if you take, like I said, that's where you get your 20. That's where you get your 5 trillion. So the yen dropped 25% after this bond sell-off. So 5%. 5 trillion. Now again, they took a 40% loss on that, so it equals 8 trillion. So they're at negative 3 trillion. And here's the thing: it was a worldwide problem. Thank you so much, PD. I appreciate it. Everybody that has, thank you for Little Bigums. He's right next to me. He's watching his first live stream. He's sleeping right now, but he'll wake up here pretty soon. He's got a bottle in an hour and a half here. So in other words, these guys had a 3 trillion margin call around the world, and that's why everybody was freaking out. This is a worldwide problem, blah, blah, blah. Crypto's everything's fucking going crazy. It's because of this. Now, here's the problem. It's not even close to over, and I want you guys to be able to play that as well. Now, again, I want you to understand what Japan is doing. So again, gold is going to keep going up. Gold will keep going up. Gold is one of the safest things you can get into right now. Gold is absolutely the safest play, and it will go up and up and up. It will have its dip for a millisecond because people use it as collateral for a second, but it'll always find its way right back and then high. You'll just continuously hit new highs. You're okay, baby. Gold will just keep going up and up and up. These banks need to continuously buy gold to back their currencies because everybody's currency is losing value by the second. Now, over here, back to Japan. So, using all of this logic, if you look over here, what is happening now? So what ended up happening is Wall Street took this giant hit, okay? And what they ended up doing is they asked Japan, and they saw the shit coming, they couldn't unwind it, and they were asking Japan, hey, we need you guys to not be sellers of our bonds. We need our bonds to rebound back so we can get our value back. So what does Japan say? They say, go fuck yourself, and they are going to sell 400 billion more of U.S. Treasury bonds. They're going to keep selling off debt. Now, they sold 180 billion, and it caused a 3 trillion margin. They're now selling off 400 billion. And guess what? They're not done. They're going to sell 400 billion in a fire sale of U.S. debt. Now, why? And I want to get you guys to understand this part, because this is important as well. Now, they have a retirement fund. What the fuck? So they have a retirement system over in Japan. It's different than how we do it here. Think of it like a social security, okay? They have like a country-wide retirement fund. It's not like all of us where we get to sit there and pick 401ks and all this shit. Like, they have a country-wide one. It's based, like I said, think of Social Security. Well, the U.S., when Obama was in presidency, like I said, I don't care what side you were on. This is just facts. This is who was in it at the time. He went over, and basically we conquered them pretty much. We had them at gunpoint. We were like, pretty much like, you don't have a standing army, and we do. And we pretty much seized control of that. It was worth a total of 1.5 trillion. Okay, so I'm going to get into this 400 billion here in a second. But there's even more coming, and it's worse, and it's worse. And this is why I'm saying this bomb that Japan this war that they've created with our banks. And I'll tell you exactly why. This is explaining why. So pretty much this 1.5 trillion was held hostage by the US, okay? The US then held hostage by the US, okay? The US then took that and they bought bonds with it, US treasuries, okay? They got treasuries, they needed buyers in the bond market, and they made sure that they had one with Japan. So Japan does not want this. I cannot make that any more clear. Japan never chose to buy these. We chose it for them. So now Japan is looking over at their financial system. They've been in like a crisis for like fucking, what, like 2.5 years, you guys? Like, this crisis is just getting worse. And all they're doing is printing, devaluing worse, buying their own bonds. And here's the thing. Their bonds keep going up. Their rates keep going up because they're trying to get their value back. But it's just not going to happen. So, back to this. So you have another wave of a 1.5 trillion pension wave of Japan that was forced to buy bonds that they don't fucking want. And they're looking over at us. And they're like, you know what, dude? Fuck you guys. They feel backed into a corner. I need to express that enough. Japan feels that we have pushed them into a corner, okay? We have a pistol to their head. And the only way out for them is for them to say, all right, fuck this. We're going to go ahead and we're going to devalue our currency and all this stuff. And we're going to, like the original thing I told you right now, the yen's total value, the only thing that's giving them their value is their USD reserve, the reserve of United States notes, debt, dollars. And they're saying, fuck that. We're going to get rid of all of that. We're going to get rid of all of our reserves. We're going to sell it off. We're going to just wipe you fucking clean of us. We don't care if we're going to take a massive hit. We don't give a shit what's going to happen. We're going to sell off every single bond we have of yours. We're going to get rid of this entire reserve, and we're going to replace it all with gold. We are going to become a gold-backed currency. No longer a United States reserve currency that supports our value. We are going to be a gold, and we're going to take this 400 billion and we're going to buy it gold again, and we're going to do the same thing. And guess what? When it happened to them and it was 180 billion, Wall Street had a $3 trillion margin call. What's going to happen when it's 400? They have 880 billion that they want to dump. What's going to happen when suddenly this pension fund, because now Japan's like, we're just going to get rid of you guys. I want you guys to look up, I should have pulled these guys' names up. When this decision was made, I want you guys to understand how insane this is. When this decision was made in Japan, there was assassinations right after. Tons of people think that it was the Rockefellers assassinating the middlemen that they had in place that are now going against the system, going into the gold standard. They're trying to get rid of all of this. And if you have a 1.5 trillion pension fund triggering with these, you have another 800 billion sell-off. Here's the thing. You guys got to understand what Japan's got to do here. And this is why it's going to be so devastating for these banks. If you're Japan, you're not going to try to sell this off in 20 billion blocks. You're not going to, because you're going to lose so much money. You're going to try to mass dump huge blocks, huge amounts, as big as you possibly can, as fast as you possibly can, to maximize as much as you can. These yen carry trades are going to take hits again, and it's going to be rapid. And these values are going to shrink again, and they're going to shrink again. And this is the thing. JP Morgan, whenever they talk about something, you know they're lying. Nobody could understand. Why did JP Morgan... Oh, baby boy. Come here. So JP Morgan, why would they say, hey, 75% of these are done? Because they're not. JP Morgan's scared that if people find out what's going on with this, Japanese this trade, they can take advantage and screw them over even more. They can't risk sell-offs. They can't risk panic. Because if JP Morgan takes even more losses on the side of these trades, they don't have enough money funneled offshore into those accounts. Other countries will always help you funnel money as long as there's money to be funneled. But the second there's no more money coming in, the second that you're going against them, guess what? You're no longer their friend and they're not going to help you. They'll cut you off in a half a second. JP Morgan and all these banks are panicking. They saw $180 billion. What that did, what's going to happen when $400 billion hit them? These trades, this is not over. Again, gold is going to fly. You're going to see $800 billion in Japan buying gold when they're done with these fire sales. You're going to see this pension fund of Japan, when it gets rid of these, they're going to buy gold and back that again as well. So that again helps the country, helps the value of everything, and it helps the value of their currency when their own pension fund buys it, and all of a sudden, the value of gold keeps rising and rising and rising and rising. So again, this is where Japan is now. They felt too backed into a corner. This yen carry trade is not even close. The damage isn't done. You have multiple banks. Like I said, you have some saying $1 trillion, some saying 3.4. You have some saying up to 20 trillion. But if you do the math on the margin calls, it makes more sense that it actually is around the 20 trillion range. And if you think about it logically, why wouldn't they? If I was think about it. Let me ask you a question. If you went somewhere and somebody's like, hey, if you give me this, I'll give it to you at 0%. And then you can take that and go buy all these other assets with it, make free money. Why wouldn't you? Now, if you knew you could do it and you knew there was nothing that could suddenly stop it, and hey, it's free fucking money, what are you going to do? You're going to unload the truck. You're going to go ahead and spend every penny you have, and that's what you're going to do. That's exactly what they did. They went ahead and unloaded the boat. They put everything they had into these because it was just constantly free money. Well, again, this is how much collateral that they're losing because they're no longer generating this 60 billion every trillion a year. They're not generating that anymore. On top of that, now what you had in your reserves is all dried up in these other countries. And you have even more coming and even more coming due. On top of that, what else is happening? So the way the United States is going to try to combat that, breaking, this is just a couple days ago. Starting tomorrow, the U.S. will start buying $30 billion a month in Treasury bonds. So basically, we're like fucking Japan. We're going to print to buy our own bonds. We're printing to buy our own debt, to refinance the debt at a higher rate to our fucking selves. What? On top of that, the national debt is flying and flying and flying. So the rates are already going to go up. So it's already going to cost us even fucking more. We have borrowed $175 billion in a week. In a fucking week. This is insanity. This is stu-fucking-pitity. Like I said, this is not unsustainable. We're literally in like the third fucking quarter, fourth inning, and Japan is like pushing us right into the fifth and sixth. It is going to be insanity here in the next couple of months. And I've been saying forever, September, right around September, October, that's when this shit's going to start hitting the fan. And I don't think they're going to be able to stop any of it. Because the problem is you have this coming up. Sorry, just put them in a swing. You got this coming up. You got the commercial real estate bomb coming up. Wall Street's going to be taking hits, unbelievable amounts, at unbelievable levels. Like I said, you saw one with 180 billion. What's going to happen with 400? One that's over twice the size? What's going to happen when this pension fund goes off? They're fucked. What's going to happen? Like I said, this is all starting to happen right around the same time commercial real estate's going to hit. I know it's been a long wait, and I know we've always been saying This is what we need. We need to kill these fucking scum central bank Wall Street fucking banks. And Japan is actually doing something right now that is completely helping us. They're not doing it on purpose. Like I said, they feel like they're backed into a wall and they're going to have to change their entire thing, which is funny because at that point, Japan, BRICS right now, BRICS is watching Japan. BRICS is watching the situation. BRICS is learning from this situation. BRICS is using them as a scapegoat, a guinea pig. They're going to see what it's like for a country to literally get away from 100% of its USD reserve, get away from all of its US debt, all of it, and go completely to a gold standard, which is exactly what the BRICS basically want to do. They want to all get away from the USD. They want to get all of their reserves gone, devalue our currency, back theirs by fucking gold, and then say, hey, we should be more value. Like I said, it's all about devaluing the dollar for all of these other people and getting their currencies back up. So again, we pretty much pushed them into a corner and they had to respond. And this is just going to get funner and funner and funner. Sorry, I had to sneeze. But like I said, this trade's not over. Gold is a very, 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 very good looking opportunity right now. Again, you're going to see Japan have to buy all, or use that to buy all that to be able to complete their plan. Their plan is not, hey, we did a little bit, let's just buy a little bit of gold. No, their entire plan is to get rid of all of this and go completely gold. So but again, you could see when this starts happening. I told you guys about right before. I mean, I made pretty good money on that. You could have made a spy puts. Told you guys it was gonna be Bloody Monday, and like I said, I'm not saying not financial advice, but there are plays that you guys can do some research, see when they're looking more to start doing these sell-offs. You guys will see some put opportunities. You will see more fire sales definitely coming around the corner here. Get ahead of it. Make some money, you guys, because again, Japan is not. They've already went full bore. There's no backing out of this plan, and there's no changing course at this point. They're pretty much stuck with doing this. They have to go gold now, but we'll see how that works. Like I said, BRICS definitely been watching that. So where are we at here now? So again, the other problem the United States, like I said, we have going on, our debt's just flying up, as you guys can see. Also, Treasury bond issuance, so we're just, like I said, issuing like motherfuckers, is in 2024 is expected to hit 1.9 trillion, basically records. Financial crisis, basically this is the most ever. And it's by a lot. And we haven't done this since the great financial crisis. So our government is just doing every fucking thing they can do, spending as much as they can, print as much as they can. It's just fucking insanity what's going on in the back end right now. So like I said, the United States, and here's the thing. Let's say Japan has this. Let's say this all happens down. Let's say that the United States does default. Because the other thing here, you guys got to remember, I'll get to that in a second here, is I was showing you guys this last year. We also have another 7.6 trillion of our debt that's set to mature this year as well. So if they don't renew them, guess what? That's even more of a hit on these trades. That's even more of a hit for the United States. And next thing you notice, we're not having any buyers. We're not able to finance this debt. If you end up defaulting on it, what's going to end up happening is like 2/3 of the government programs are going to end up shutting down, and that's exactly what Donald Trump wants for, like I said, so he'll get his way. I'm not saying this is pro or against. Like I said, I don't fucking care who's in presidency at this point. Come here, baby. Oh, all right. All right, we'll see how fussy he gets here. I might have to go after this here, but we'll see. You calm down, Ashton. Okay, okay. All right. So again, government. If you guys look at here, also 43% of all dollars the government spent in July were borrowed. The Treasury is spending twice as much as it takes from the United States. So again, we're borrowing more than we're able to produce. And the other thing that I was saying, because that's the other thing everybody was saying, you know, the feds, and I kept talking about how the feds were bailing them out and bailing them out. Well, if you guys look, the feds are now at 100 and negative 90 billion. So the feds are already taking so many hits. They're not even able, this is the problem. They're not putting money back into the Treasury. They owe the Treasury 190 billion. So the feds are operating at a loss. They're not able to put money into the Treasury. We're spending, borrowing more than we're putting back into the Treasury. Like I said, guys, this is insanely unsustainable. Unsustainable. There's no way we can keep this up. Absolutely not. And like I said, this Japan thing, yeah, I just did it. I love it, man. I just take those little palms. He goes right back to sleep. You better like that too. So, like I said, I mean, this is unbelievable. What we're allowing our government to do. Like I said, at some point we need to fucking either rise up or just let it collapse. And I mean, this thing's gonna collapse here very, very soon. This Japan thing is just going to accelerate it. Now, on top of that, if you guys look at these fucking loans compared to assets, this is what I've been telling you guys since NAM. Commercial real estate has been in horrible shape since 2020. Well, at this point, it's now even worse. It's at the all-time worst. Their assets are lower than they've been, and their loan amounts are higher than it's ever been. The second this commercial real estate bomb comes, like I've been saying forever, all of these small banks, all of these medium banks, they're going to go crashing down. Credit's going to completely dry up. Like I said, it's going to get very, very rocky here in the United States. It's going to get very rocky. So I'm telling you guys, like, you got to get your shit in the right places. It's very vital. If your money is just sitting in a fucking bank and it's not a credit union where you're making good percentage, trust me, you're losing money and you're not helping yourself right now. But like I said, this should all be coming in September. You're going to start seeing these bond sell-offs from Japan in September. You're going to, I can't tell you when this trigger, this is going to be insanity. I can't tell you when Japan's retirement fund's going to sell off, but when that starts selling off those treasury notes, holy fuck. That's a lot of notes they have. They have a lot of notes. Again, get the fuck out of these banks. Wells Fargo is being investigated by authorities. Again, over its anti-money laundering and sanctions program. On top of that, you got U.S. Bancorp doing the same thing. They're getting investigated for anti-money laundering because, again, they're all fucking criminals. Guys, get out of these banks. Get out of these middle banks, big banks. Just go to a local bank or a credit union. They're all fucking criminals. They're all fucking criminals. I don't care if you have the local Huntington Bank, fucking anything, JP Morgan Chase, get the hell out of these things. I can't stress that enough. You're feeding the bloodline. They're using your money to commit crimes against you. They're fucking the ones that funnel and help all the criminals for bribes, and they're the ones that are paying politicians to fuck your children over. And you just get out of these fuckers. Now, this is what's scaring me. It reports that credit card debt has reached an all-time high of $1.14 trillion. That is fucking insanity. Everybody is living off credit cards. Now, if you look at this next one, Americans are now paying $280 billion annually in credit cards financing, fucking because of the new balance and interest rates. The new average balance is $6,500. The new average credit card interest rate is at 21.7%. That is fucking insanity. Now, we're paying $280 billion in interest and all this shit a year. 2 years ago, it was at 120. So it's more than doubled and then some. On top of that, now you have credit card defaults are now up to 11%. We're getting close to our 2009 levels, which we're at, I think it was, what's that, peaked at 13.8. We're getting close, guys. Like I said, everybody is running out of money. The last thing I wanted to show you guys here, U.S. household total debt has increased again. The U.S. total debt right now is at $17.76 trillion. In other words, we're all getting fucking poorer. Our debt's growing, and they have enslaved the country through debt. Now, one of the most famous quotes I've always told you guys, there are two ways to conquer and enslave a nation. Hold on. I'm trying to do this with a baby in one hand. Sorry, Dave. Here you go. One of my all-time favorite quotes. There are two ways to conquer and enslave a nation. One is by the sword, the other is debt. And that's by John Adams in 1826. He knew what was happening. And here you go. The United States has conquered its citizens through debt. Does anyone have any questions? I went over all my slides here. I got a little bit before. I got like 30 minutes for his bottle, so we got plenty of time. Does anyone have any questions about anything? You can ask me anything here. It don't have to be anything I went over either. But like I said, guys, there are some put opportunities. You can. I don't want to give out selling some strategies here. Like I said, watch gold. Gold, Japan, I'm telling you right now, Japan is going to be one of the biggest buyers of gold in the next year. And they're going to be buying by the hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. The value of gold will skyrocket over the next year. It will skyrocket like fucking crazy. Because not only do you have Japan now going to go all in with like $1 trillion worth of gold, you have all these other countries that are already buying gold at an all-time high level. So again, guys, gold is definitely the safest bet you can possibly do right now. Talk AMC. It went AMC right away over in the beginning here, but yeah, I can go do a little quick recall here. So by the end of this month, we should be at about 2.2 billion, 2.15, I'd say, around there. I think we're going to end the quarter at about 2.815. I have AMC profitable at 2.41 billion, and I have us profiting about 165 billion this quarter. I'm sorry, million. Keep saying billion. Sorry, I'm just so used to the fucking crazy numbers with Japan and these. But I have AMC profiting 160 million around this quarter, give or take, a couple mil. But AMC's outlook, like I said, 2025, you're supposed to have a profitable year. 2026, you should have, honest to God, I swear to God, with what I've seen at the domestic box office lineup for 2026, I expect AMC to honestly profit $700 fucking million. Seriously. Easily around that. 2026 box office will be the best box office in the history of fucking movies. Ever. Seriously. Well, here's the thing. When things Delinda looked at the squeeze is over, I mean, you gotta look at days to cover. Squeezes aren't going to take like a half a second. But you're going to make most of your profit right away. You're going to obviously have your ups, your downs. That's the thing. When you see them skyrocket, you want to be able to play it. I mean, I don't know how to explain all that. I mean, I could show you how to do TA on all these things, but it's like, during the squeeze, man. I just picked my price. I already have a price picked out. And when it gets it, I'll hit my price, get back in. I don't think, like I said, with how much shit that they hit with AMC already through these swaps and all this other crap. Here's the thing: all these countries, when you're sitting there doing shit like this and you're making 1.2 trillion on the side, yeah, you can buy a lot of friends, you can buy a lot of countries, but when that money starts to go away, we'll see what else comes out. But it's just so hard to put a number, man. Like during squeezes, man. I can't tell you exactly how to say, all right, it's about to be done in an hour or anything like that. You got the link for the Japan deleverage. Which one are you looking at? This one? Are you looking at this one? Yeah, I can. Yeah, I'll send you some of these links here quick. Here's that one, my friend. This one, yeah, read into these because, like I said, this is going to smash. This is going to have some huge fucking implications here in the United States. Looking at this pension fund, read about Obama, how he took, like I said, he took and basically forced them to buy Treasury bonds. We basically created our own demand for Treasury because we were that fucked up back then. I don't think I have any more of the other ones up here that were Japan. Yeah. Yeah, GT, I went over a lot of stuff this time. I feel like this was like an hour-long stream. Pretty good. Yeah, 52 minutes is a long one. But yeah, man, AMC, we're feeling great. AMC, we're feeling great right now. Like I said, I expect about 160 million profit this quarter. We're at what, 770 mil? We're feeling good right now. Probably pay. See, what we want to do is pay down that extra 103 million. So I think what they'll end up doing is paying. They'll probably pay about 60 million down on that, but they'll get that discount. So they'll probably pay off about 72 million on that. Put 100 million in the bank, but we'll probably end up paying off what, like 20 million on some upgrades. We'll probably be at about 840 million in the bank. Upgrade some theaters, pay down about 70 million in debt. We'll pay down the remaining of that 2026. They'll leave about 33 million left for the refinance, or after we're done refinancing the other 800 million. And then at that point, I could see them end up using that 50 million extra they could use on that 33 million to completely remove all 2026 debt. Like I said, man, I feel great about the play, man. Do I ever plays in Discord? No, not really. I mean, if I don't really go, I go on my Discord, but not that much. I kind of just want a place for everybody to just come hang out, post DD. My Discord's mainly DD, man. I'll talk about upcoming events, and then you can do it that way. I don't really like to post trades. Because if I ever get one wrong, I feel like shit. But then when I do get some right, like I said, that Coinbase, people made a lot. If anybody's listening to me on gold, they got a lot. People listening to me on Ape when it was 77, 80 cents. I'm like, dude, I had more Ape at 88 cents than I had fucking AMC shares. I'm like, okay, why hasn't everybody done this? I said my fucking after the conversion, my average was so much lower just because I was getting all of that fucking Ape at, like I said, under $1, dude. That was nice. I've given out. I mean, dude, if I ever do give out plays, it's always on my Twitter. Like every time I told you guys, hey, the spy plays, I've said like 6 spy plays, and every time I was right. I even called it to the dot. Literally called it to the dot. And you can tell when the plunge protection team is gonna get involved and the spy's gonna fucking skyrocket when everybody thinks it should go down. It's very simple. When will this cause margin calls? That's the thing, man. It all depends on how fast Japan does this. They could sell this at any point. I don't know when they're gonna sell this. It's not like there's like a. They're not gonna tell you when they're gonna sell it because then obviously people are gonna mess it up before. They're gonna make it harder for them. So Japan's not gonna tell you when they're gonna sell it. They just announce we're gonna sell this, and when we do, we're gonna fucking dump them. So when this comes, if they dump it in mass amounts, it could cause them. Look what it did the first time. It could cause a margin call instantly. This is a huge amount of money. This is a huge amount of money that we're talking about. And you're not just talking about 400 billion here. You're talking about the trillions of dollars in the back end. Because, you guys, this affects the yen carry trade. That's why I'm showing you this. Because when they sell this off, this affects the yen carry trade. And it's going to crush it. Think about it. If 180 billion caused them to take a 40% loss, what the fuck does 400 billion cause them to take? An 80% loss? A 60% loss? 75? Holy fuck. You know what I mean? That's going to cause some margins. You're going to see a bigger than a 3 trillion margin call like you saw last time. That's for sure. So like I said, you guys, that I told you guys in the last one, that yen carry trade, the margins, these mass crushing blows, they're not, that you didn't miss it. There's still another one coming, and there's a one coming that's even bigger. So you can definitely get ready to play that. And like I said, gold right now is a bargain. I'm telling you right now, you have a buyer of gold that is eventually going to buy. He's not going to make 400 billion on this, okay? He's going to take a hit. But he might be able to buy 300 billion in gold. If somebody goes up and buys 300 billion in gold, that's going to massively raise it. On top of that, you have this pension fund that's going to dump those treasury bonds. And they're going to dump it as fast as they can too. They don't give a shit. They'll dump the fuck out of that. And guess what they're going to do? Buy gold with it. So you might have a buyer of, what, 700, 800, 900, maybe $1 trillion of gold coming. If somebody buys $1 trillion in gold, the value of that's going to fucking skyrocket. So this is where I'm going to put a little bit more money in. I'll take a little profits I made last week. Just buy some, just keep getting a little bit more at a time. You don't have to sit there and get giant amount. But again, don't get gold stocks and bullshit like that. Go buy physical gold. I mean, man, physical gold to me, there are ways to do it. I mean, you can get it, but I'm all about physical, man. Here's my way. If you don't have it in front of you, if you can't touch it, you don't own it. If you can't hold it, you don't own it. If you put that, whatever you own, if you put it somewhere else and it's in someone else's possession, there's a chance it's rehypothecated. There's a chance that shit's gone. Think about it. J.P. Morgan said that they had bags of nickels, and it ended up being rocks. Somebody in their own company went and stole the nickel and then fucking put rocks in there. That dude who came out to comes to fucking J.P. Morgan to get all of his nickel out. Guess what? He got bags of rocks. Look at this shit. Sorry, I'm trying to fucking... JP Morgan Chase thought it had a 1.3 million of nickel, but they're all bags of rocks. And it happened before. So in other words, they keep thinking they have all this gold. Or so somebody goes in there and gives them all this fucking nickel and shit. Then they come out there and they have rocks when they come back to get it. Fuck JP Morgan, dude. Well, like I said, if you don't physically have it in your possession, man, someone else does, and let me tell you, they're spending it. In the meantime, till you want yours back. That's the problem. I feel like all the United States is everybody borrows your shit charges you, and then they sell it for more, and in the meantime, or they sell stocks they don't own, they sell shit they don't own. If I want your company, fuck it, I'll just short and distort it. It's like there's zero motivation or reasoning now for anybody to take a company public. And I showed you guys like 3 months ago. There are less companies now going public than like ever. Everybody's figured out there's no reason to go public. There's no reason to start an IPO. You're just going to get your shit stolen. Precious metals have been artificially deflated. Well, yeah, that's the problem. You have people like JP Morgan who are sitting there fucking have the biggest short position in the world in gold. And they can control this shit. It's a fucking joke. What time is it? Alright, I gotta get him ready. I gotta go change him quick. And then it's bottle time in like 3 minutes here. Try and feed him every 3 hours. I'll make sure he doesn't wake up in the middle of the night, wake her up. So I'm gonna go, you guys. I'm gonna go take care of little Bigums here. Thank you guys for listening. I'm gonna try and go live here. I was gonna go live earlier. Sorry it was so late, but everybody wanted to listen to Donald Trump, so I figured I'd let everyone do their thing. But I'll try and come on here again Wednesday, Thursday-ish, and then I'm going to try and see if Peter Hahn wants to go live on this weekend. I haven't done a stream with him in a while, so kind of miss talking to that guy. He has a lot of good information. But, alright guys, thank you all for listening. Appreciate it. Good night. Have sweet dreams. See you guys soon.